Hello, welcome to Watch the Game podcast. I'm your man L.A. Cheatham.
Benjamin Banneker, what's going on, y'all? What's going on? It's tournament time.
It's tournament time, but Ryan Poles is smoking,
Oh, King Poe,
and
they call him.
yeah, man, he's smoking. He going in mafia style, and he making moves. And we haven't spoke since he made the move last week. And how can we start off without talking about that? I mean, the tournament is underway as we speak. Texas A&M Corpus Christi is up on top of Southeast Missouri in the first game of the first four, and I just want to bring that to their attention. But we cannot go without talking about the moves that's been made at Hallis Hall. When you talk about the trade that went down last week, and then you talk about the free agency signings that's going on this week. I mean, it solidifies so much for me.
Well, he did what I wanted him to do, which was trade that pick. And I was seeing, I was hearing some people on ESPN 1000 say that they wish he would have went on ahead and drafted a quarterback, but I didn't think that was the move. Going to trade that pick, and especially getting a wide receiver back in that haul. Now you putting some certified weapons around Justin. So it's year 3 for Justin. You got to know what you got, right? So you got DJ Moore, Chase Claypool got to come on. You got Cole Kmet. You probably got Darnell Mooney playing in his true position now. So I think weapons, we don't know what halfback going to look like other than Khalil Herbert being there. But as far as weapons, Justin, he'll have a serviceable core. I think they was bottom 5 in the league last year with the wide receiver core that they had. So that'll be a major upgrade. Again, we knew we had a lot of holes to fill on this football team. And the fact that not only did you get what we going to call DJ Moore, a top 12 wide receiver in the league?
I'm gonna put it to you like this. I'm not gonna even go that far, but I will tell you this. With DJ Moore's stats coming into Chicago,
Bears leading receiver. Yep.
if he did that in Chicago, he'd be the top receiver in Bears history.
Yep. I
And
think
that's pretty much all we need to say about that.
and he was playing with Sam Darnold. He played with what's my man number 11? The black quarterback in Carolina.
I forget his name. I don't want to throw it out there. I haven't looked at
Yeah,
their roster. I do. I think he was one of the guys that played in the. Did he play in the USFL?
he might have.
And
I know he started 6 games for him last year.
yeah, and then he got a chance to play with the Panthers last year. But I think he kind of like resurged his career in another league and got an opportunity to play with the Carolina Panthers during that stretch they played last year. But DJ Moore will be the Bears' all-time top receiver. And that's pretty much that's productivity. And another thing is this. Think about this. Another thing that was brought to my attention after this trade. Valus Jones and DJ Moore are months apart in age. They're both like gonna be 26 next year. But DJ Moore has going into, I guess, what's going to be his 6th season in the league or something like that.
Yeah.
And Valus Jones is going to what's going to be his 2nd season. And what it does is the guys are the same age. But what it does is it takes the pressure off a guy like Valus to just develop much at a quicker pace. And now we got a more proven commodity at that position at the exact same age. In their prime.
It's gonna be hard for Velvet to get time, especially when you're looking at DJ, Chase, Mooney. Okay, them the top 3 right there. Then where does he slot in? Wide receivers, what they usually carry, like 6?
I don't know. I know he'll probably have a tough time hitting the depth chart, but I think he'll have an opportunity to make the roster because of his draft status.
Yeah.
And I think to a degree to take the pressure off of him for at least the first 4 to 8 weeks of the season to be productive immediately. And then he might be the guy that like get through the cracks all of a sudden because we can't be denied Valus is fast. If Valus can get the ball in his hand and in space, he can be an asset. I'm just saying with DJ Moore being added to this team, it just puts him in a better position to develop.
I question the playing time. I question the playing time.
Well, I do too, but in this league, there's going to be nicks and sprains and stuff like that, and that's why I say from week 4 to week 8, he could really develop going into training camp, and resetting his program as far as getting into the playbook, competing for the position, and as a what I'm saying is as a fan's perspective, I don't expect as much from him, and it gives him a little bit more time to develop because of DJ Moore and pretty much Chase Claypool and an already proven Darnell Mooney. The wide receiver room has improved. You throw in Cole Kmet that down towards the end of the season started showing some improvement. It's on Justin. It's on Justin and it's on the Bears to get this offensive line right. And Justin is going to have every opportunity to show that he can be the man. He can play the position in the city of Chicago for a long time.
Yeah, and another point of order with your boy Velvet too. The Bears, they still rumored to be in on the Jackson Smith and Jigba sweepstakes as well. So if you bringing him in with Velvet not having a great rookie campaign, like I said, playing time, it's going to be hard for him. I can see him on special teams because he did a lot of that last year.
I don't want him back there returning punts. I don't want that. We don't have that. We don't have that kind of time. You either can catch the ball or you can't.
Is Velvet Jones the new Ryan Nall for you?
Not yet, because Ryan Nall made his hay on special teams, tackling guys. And when he had an opportunity to run the football, he did well. But it just seemed like Ryan Nall was here for a while, and that's why I kind of got more familiar with him because he just found a way to make the roster year in and year out for a better part of about 2 or 3 seasons. And that's why I felt the way about Ryan Nall because he was in the running back room, and I felt like he was never in a position to make plays. But Velvet, I mean, like you say, Valus is in a situation where he's going into his second season. Now you talk about the third season, and we still talking about him being a special teams player. Then he dialing up Ryan Knowles territory. But I don't think that this regime would allow that to happen.
Yeah, and one thing he does have working for him, because I know Ryan Poles is very adamant on getting like young guys in here and building this thing up and not just getting stopgap guys and, kind of overpaying, kind of like what's the former GM Ryan Pace was doing.
Yeah, well, Ryan Pace, he paid guys and he gave up draft capital.
Exactly.
Sometimes the guys he paid, he made decent decisions with the way he spent his free agency money. And we can't argue with the Khalil Mack trade. That was productive.
That was good. We can argue with Jimmy Graham.
Yeah, well, you can argue. Maybe, yeah, I guess, but Jimmy Graham, he did show to be a red zone threat.
Right. And he also took reps away from Cole Kmet.
I mean, there you go. I mean, but Cole Kmet was a developing wide receiver, and we're in the point where Cole Kmet should be hitting his prime now. So I don't really want to say he stunted the growth of Cole Kmet. I believe Matt Nagy stunted the growth of Cole Kmet more than Jimmy Graham being on the roster. That's just how I feel about it.
Matt Nagy studied the whole fan base's growth.
Yeah. So I put a lot of blame. I put a lot more blame on Matt Nagy when you talk about that offense. I don't put as much responsibility on Ryan Pace. I just think that Ryan was listening to his coach, going along with his coach, saying, "Yo, you got the offense. You gonna build this thing, and you gonna fly it." And he gave him an opportunity, and he got both of them fired.
Yeah, as that's how it go. They in lockstep,
Yeah, yeah.
They,
Well, it got both of them fired. Not just when it comes to that offense, I put more responsibility on Nagy because when you think about it, um, the picks that Ryan Pace hit on offensively, Nagy pretty much sabotaged. And I'm talking about people like David Montgomery and Jordan Howard. Okay. And then when you look at the defensive decisions that Ryan Pace made during his tenure, he was hitting on quite a few guys. I think about it. Roquan Smith.
mm-hmm. Didn't he draft Floyd?
Yeah, he drafted Floyd. Uh, Floyd.
Is Eddie
He had
Jackson?
some. Floyd played well against the Minnesota Vikings, and I think sometimes the Green Bay Packers. He just wasn't consistent. And then he went to the Rams and hit another level and ended up winning a Super Bowl with them. But I just think Ryan Pace was a better defensive drafting type of general manager. And I just think he leaned on Matt Nagy for the offense. They never really built the offensive line.
And he
They
made the
spent,
trade.
yeah, he made the Trubisky trade. He made a dumb free agency. He did make a dumb trade at going to get Nick Foles when he could have just let him get released and signed him. But I think that was all influenced by Matt Nagy.
Yeah. I forgot what they give up, a third rounder for Nick Foles or something like that.
I don't know what they gave up, but what I'm saying is, in this day and age, that deal wouldn't be made because guys just letting for court. They just waiting for quarterbacks to just get cut.
Yeah.
I mean, and that was what 3 years ago. I mean, just 3 years ago. So, hey, man. I mean, but let's get back. Let's get back to the present. We don't want to bask in the filth of bad decisions, but we get back to some of the stuff that Ryan Poles is doing with this team. I don't know if we pointed out the trade, but now the Bears trade the number 1 overall pick to the Carolina Panthers. And I believe they get the 9th pick. They go down to number 9. They get the second round pick, which is the 61st pick in the second round, 2023. A first round pick, as you told me earlier, a first round pick in 2024, and a second round pick in 2024 as well. And all they gave up was the number 1 overall pick in this year's draft, which was the timing was great. He got what he wanted, and it's to my understanding that he does not make this deal if DJ Moore is not a part of it.
Oh yeah, that was that was the key linchpin. He wasn't doing it for just picks. He had to get something back, and Carolina is kind of in blow it all up mode, starting with when they traded Christian McCaffrey last year. So they hitting the reset button, so they was willing to sell off the pieces. But hey, thank you, and we'll be watching. After we check the Bears score this fall, we'll be checking the Carolina Panthers score because, if they have a terrible record, we're going to be picking in the top 5 once again.
Yeah, and when you say that, there's so many different ways to look at that. Where if they're picking in the top 5, again, it puts more pressure. We can look at this a lot of different ways. It puts more pressure on Justin Fields to perform because we cannot let these opportunities slip when they can get another guy, which I'm not really all that sold on Caleb Williams. I'm not sold on that. I'm really not.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really sold on him because when I look at Bryce Young and Hendon Hooker, which is a guy that's in this draft out of Tennessee that's being played down quite a bit, probably because of his injuries or his injury to his knee. I believe, in my opinion, take the injury away. Hendon Hooker might be the second or third best quarterback in this talent pool.
You get
Based
no,
on what we've seen.
yeah, you get no arguments here. You get no arguments from me. I don't understand the hype behind the kid from Florida. What's the other guy? Will Levi, Levis.
Will Levis.
Yeah,
Will Levis.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
not. I'm not sold on him either. Um, outside of Bryce and CJ Stroud, like them the only two for me. Those the only two.
Yeah. And I just don't see how you got to, like, Hendon Hooker. I know that he has the injury, but it's going to be very interesting to know where he ends up. Now, Anthony Richardson, kid out of Florida, and Will Levis, I understand why so many people out of experts are so, or the teams may be biting on those guys. They're physical specimen. Anthony Richardson is a physical specimen. He kind of reminds you of what Cam Newton was.
Mm-hmm.
And when I see some highlights on him, he hit the gas kind of like Justin. He has another gear. He separates himself in the open field when he scrambles. He may bit of a project in the passing game, much like Cam Newton was coming out of Auburn. So I get it. I get the physical tools. I get all of that. I think that's all gonna take time. Maybe if he end up with the regular organization that's not gonna put him out there too soon and have some patience with him, I could see where it could work. Will Levis, I haven't seen much on Will Levis, but I see the physical makeup and tools like that. But the knock on him is he didn't make enough intermediate throws, the move the chain type throws and stuff like that. Just the total body work on these guys
Will
is
Levis,
in question.
he remind me of what's the Jets? Zach Wilson. Remember how they
Yeah,
and he was at BYU, and I think he really only played like 2 games versus top tier competition and stuff. Like that's the kind of vibe I'm getting from Will Levis, even though he was in a better conference.
that's what I'm getting to.
Yeah.
Will Levis, the biggest game of the season was, remember when Tennessee was one of the top teams in the country coming off the beating of Alabama in the high scoring affair. And then not too long after that, Kentucky was still they were still doing things and looking good, and they matched up. It was just a total wash. The
Yep.
game was like over in the second quarter. Will Levis, in my opinion, didn't put an imprint on that. Probably didn't help his draft status. But when it's all said and done, it's like Will Levis just didn't perform in the big games that he
Correct.
had the opportunity to play in this past season. He just didn't perform well. I think it may take some time for him to develop as well. Will Levis reminds me of remember the quarterback we was high on coming out of Florida,
Kyle
Kyle
Trask.
Trask?
Yep.
Yeah, he kind of reminds me of what Kyle Trask was. Had the national recognition of playing in a high profile conference, but uh uh Trask was at a more traditional power at Florida, and Will Levis was kind of carrying the Kentucky bluegrass on his back. You know what I'm saying? So, but the same type of player, I just think they were the same type of football players.
And that's why you not using no high pick on him. In my book, if I'm the GM, if it's my team, I'm not going after him. Yet, would I have him on my roster to develop? Yes, but I'm not bringing him in day one thinking, he's changing life here. Like, no, he just didn't show enough of that. Again, and we point to the Tennessee game. Like, it wasn't even like we can go back to that game and say it was close. They got boat race.
No. And he could not, him and the Kentucky offense could not keep up with the volume of points and plays that was they just couldn't keep up, and he had to be a part of that, and just wasn't impressive. When I think about teams that may be in on Will Levis, I think about teams like the Colts, and I believe that he fits that market. Southern kid, I think he's a Southern kid, kind of like Peyton Manning was, but they cannot expect him to come in and be the man like in 2 years. Give him 3 years and then start hedging your bets on him. Give him that third season. I can see him either making or breaking himself in the NFL. But year 1 and year 2 is going to be about development. However you want to see it. Go out there and lose a ton of games, make a ton of mistakes, stay strong, stay solid, stay healthy, get that experience. You still got that rookie contract. And then right when you get to the second year of his deal, then you can kind of say, okay, we still don't expect to win, but expect for him to make progress. Big, strong kid, showing that he can make it in the league, showing the hell stay off trouble off the field. That's a major component. Show that you can be a professional in the NFL. And I think by that third season is when what the expectations can build up on a guy like him as well as Anthony Richardson.
I'm gonna throw another team out there that I could see him being in the landing spot. I know they just paid Kyler, but they just got a new coach. And there's been a lot of smoke coming out about Kyler, about his immaturity, not being in his playbook, whatnot. I can see, them just drafting him, develop. If Kyler don't get it done these first 2 years, they just go ahead and cut bait. And there we go.
Yeah. Honestly, I believe you took the thought right out of my head. Is that I've been thinking this for a while, and looking at the draft position of the Arizona Cardinals. I think they're like at number 7, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but this could be the year that they look back on and be like, we should have went and got another quarterback.
Yeah, I don't. They are the 3rd pick.
So the Arizona Cardinals got the 3rd pick in the draft?
Yep.
Okay, so that's even more enticing.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sold on Kyler Murray. I'm really not. And part of it is his size, and the other is the character. And they paid him, and he hasn't proven anything in the league. Now, see, this whole conversation could take me down a whole rabbit hole from salary and expectation. And I just think in 2 more years that the Arizona Cardinals gonna be looking back like, damn, we made a bad decision signing that guy to that deal. And here it is 2 years later, they're going to be looking for a guy via through the draft or via the trade or something. I just believe that the Arizona Cardinals are going to be looking for another quarterback in 2 seasons.
Yeah, I'm right with you. I'm looking at Kyler's contract right now. So his extension kick in this year. This the first year for it. Probably in 26, we probably could be looking at a situation where they move off of.
Yeah. And think about it like this. You got the Aaron Rodgers buzz going on with the Jets. And just 2 years ago, it was the 49ers, the Jets picking quarterbacks. We, the Chicago Bear fans, were given opportunity to draft Justin Fields at number 11, I believe.
Yeah.
Now, Trey Lance was in that draft as well. I believe he was the first quarterback taken in that draft. Mac Jones as well. But when we look back, we go 2 years removed from that draft, and we're looking at guys like Zach Wilson in the Jets and Trey Lance and the 49ers in a totally different light. Just 2 years removed from that night.
Right.
It's amazing. And I just think that the Arizona Cardinals going to find themselves in that position from a standpoint of setting themselves up with a bad contract that puts that organization and puts them in a situation like a bad willing lineman. They need a rotation. They need parts. And they spent too much on the quarterback that wasn't mentally ready, wasn't physically ready, and wasn't ready to lead this team. All given the same questions we got about Bryce Young right now have been answered to a degree with Kyler Murray.
And Kyler a little bit smaller. Kyler is a little bit smaller.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Durability.
Yeah.
I mean, I question that, and then you question his mental makeup and his attitude towards the game.
This is one of the first times in a long time where you could be a Bears fan and you can look around the league, and we just went through our little period. We had to just suffer and just take it on the chin. Now we can look around the league and be like, glad I'm not the Arizona Cardinals. Glad I'm not the Carolina Panthers. I'm glad I'm not the New York Jets. I'm glad I'm not the Green Bay Packers. Like, these are things we can say right now as Bears fans.
Yeah, because we got Justin, we got Ryan, we got the new president that's about to whip us up a new, dome stadium.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a good time to be a Bear fan. A lot of things, a lot to be hopeful for. But I mean, we done went down a rabbit hole already. I mean, because when we went on in our little production speech, we had no intention on going, but this is why we do it. This is why we do it. We having fun.
The script was totally different.
Yeah, it's totally different. That's why you just let the spirit of the fan take over and the spirit of the gossip just take over. And this is where we're at. So let's touch back on. I think we touched on the picks that the Bears got for DJ Moore. We talked about DJ Moore, his productivity, what he can bring to the Bears. What about the free agency moves that's been made so far? You may know more about these guys than I do. TJ Edwards from Philly, I think he's a local kid.
Yeah.
Tremaine Edmonds from Buffalo and Nate Davis, offensive lineman. I think they got him from Tennessee. Can you elaborate? But I don't know a whole lot about these guys other than the little sound bites I've gotten recently in the last few days.
What I know about TJ Edwards, I know he led the Eagles in tackles. Obviously, he was in the Super Bowl this year. Low maintenance guy. He signed, I think, a 3-year, $19 million deal, and 12 of it was guaranteed to play the same position that Roquan was playing in this system. And that just shows you how the Bears valued that position. Even though I thought they would have paid Roquan, but I think Roquan kind of messed himself up, not having an agent and talking a little bit. So in hindsight, man, we traded Roquan. We got a second round pick for it. So it's a good move. So I like the TJ Edwards pickup. Tremaine Edmonds, I don't remember much about him from Buffalo. I just know he was on Buffalo. Nate Davis, he was the offensive lineman. No clue. And then the defensive lineman, Demarcus Walker. That's what he was talking about when he was off air. Demarcus
Okay,
Walker.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And the thing you gotta like, again, we brought this up earlier about Ryan Post. All of these guys are 24, 26, 28. Like he ain't really signing nobody that's 31, 32. So we really can build this thing on up. What is Justin?
I
23?
think Justin just turned 24, maybe a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You starting to see how he's trying to put this thing together. A bunch of young guys and trying to maximize that window to win football games. So, but yeah, I gotta go back and watch tape on Walker and Davis for sure. But TJ Edwards, I liked him. Matter of fact, I play with him a lot on Madden too, so that's another reason I knew about him.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm liking what they're doing, and the Jalen Carter thing is just so tantalizing if he falls to us, man. It's a good time to be a Bears man.
Yeah, I like it too. The only thing I question is something we have to wait on, and I believe today, Georgia had their pro day. I believe today was the day that they had their pro day, that where Jalen Carter was able to participate. Um, so I didn't get a chance to look at that tape or nothing like that, but I do believe today was the day that they had their pro day. But the thing about Jalen Carter, only concern I have about him is not so much about on the field. I just with the incident that's going down, and whatever the situation is with his participation in this accident that left two, that end up leaving two people deceased in this car accident, is what will we find out going forward just before the draft, his involvement in it, uh yeah, his that direct involvement in the whole thing, and the overall mental makeup of a guy in that situation. Any red flags on any prior, that's the type of stuff. I don't question his ability to play the game, but I'm just saying when you give guys, young guys, money, and his whether or not they can be responsible and professional, that's the that's the only thing I question. And I believe if I'm questioning it, then a lot of GMs in that top 10 might be questioning as well.
Yeah.
And I talked to my man Strange. Strange thinks just like you. He thinks that he's going to fall, and Strange thinks that he's even going to fall all the way down to the second round. And he thinking if the Bears can get him later on in this draft. Now, I don't know that to be. I don't think that's going to be the case, especially if nothing comes from this incident where he's going to do jail time or any type of serious punishment for this. If it comes out that he's not going to get any type of, then I think his stock just falls. He just stay in the top 10 some kind of way. When you look at all the teams that may draft quarterbacks, then he can fall but when you base it on that. And I do think Will Anderson will be the first defensive player taken, because I think with Carter's problem, it like puts Anderson up a little bit to say, okay, he for sure the first defensive player to go. But where does Jalen Carter fall? I think maybe he can find it. He can fall in that top 10. And if the Bears can be lucky to get him at 9, no character issues, I like the pick.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I can't see him. I can't see a scenario where he falls to the second round. That's just too far. I would say he'll be off the board by being generous 15. He'll be
Yeah,
gone, especially if
yeah.
things clear out and come out and clear out for him. But one of the things I heard in recent days is the Bears actually got staff members in place to assist with these guys' transition of being a millionaire overnight. They got people in the building working on mental health and all that kind of stuff. And they one of the few teams in the league that's at the tip of the spear, putting these people in place. So for Jalen to come in, you obviously know the Bears gonna have him under lock and key and have him hey, you got to go to your session and all that. You got to meet. So I'm sure they'll keep him busy. It's just after he get his feet wet in the league a year or two, then that's when really we gonna see is it character issues, because they're gonna make sure that he does not mess himself up in the first 2 years.
Are you gonna will you be down to drive Jalen Carter around the city of Chicago, make he gets in and out of places kind of safe?
Hey man, listen. Okay, this is what I need. Okay, I can do the driving. I'm gonna need a jersey. I'm gonna need a number 9 jersey. We got to put Danica on the back. Okay. When we playing home games in the wintertime, I need to be in the box. Okay. If you really want to make it sweet for me, I want to be in the coordinator's box. I want to so I can tap in with them. But yeah, I'll take on that assignment.
I think that one of the famous Michael Jordan stories about him getting drafted to Chicago is when he got to the airport and there was no one there. I guess the driver was late picking him up, and Jordan started a relationship with the guy that actually picked him up, and that was just like, I think Jalen Carter might need that type of treatment in the city of Chicago. So, interesting story, interesting situation. I don't question his ability to play on the football field. I just question whether or not he can navigate his way being a professional once he gets paid. And another thing, I think about guys like Eddie Goldman. When I think about Jalen Carter, I think about Eddie Goldman for different reasons. Because I remember watching Eddie Goldman as a rookie in the training camp. And it's like when I watched him doing training camp, massive kid. I think they play the same position, don't they?
Hope.
I think Eddie Goldman coming out of Florida State, wasn't he a nose or defensive tackle?
Let me check on that.
Well,
I think he played line. I don't know if he was a tackle though. Eddie Goldman. Yeah, defensive tackle, D tackle.
So they both play the same position, right?
Yep.
Okay, so I just felt like after I watched him in the training camp session at practice, and he went down, and he like, I don't know if he had a concussion deal or not that day, but he left practice early, and some I got the influence that this guy don't look like he enjoyed football. And you let it play out. He took the outs on COVID, came back, played the next season, and then now he's retired.
So he played what, 4 years? 3?
Maybe 5.
He's 29 years old.
Yeah, so maybe 4, maybe 5. And that was he's just a player that comes to mind when I think about the Jalen Carter situation for many different reasons. Because I don't question Jalen Carter's ability to play the game. It's just there's character flaws that are creeping up that I don't want to see like pop up later. Like, damn, everything we needed to know was there. Yeah. And here it is. I was a fan watching a rookie guy, and I'm just a fan at that time, and I'm like, something about that dude don't stick. Like, I don't know about this dude. He massive. He got all the I don't know. I just don't know about that guy. And it just now here we are. He's retired. Every opportunity he had to not play football, he took it, and he
Now,
stayed long enough to get paid. Best of luck to him because maybe maybe he's got other interests. Maybe he saved his money and put it in the right spaces, and maybe he's the hometown king wherever he comes from, doing things in his community. I hope that's what he's doing. Got his health and his wealth and moving on with his life. But it was just the love of the game of football, which is I think is something you need to flourish at a high level in the NFL.
would you say he's no? Well, Tommy Harris fell off after he got paid.
Yeah, but I think Tommy Harris didn't he have some injuries?
Uh, I remember he was balling. Then when he got his payday, he was playing in the games, but he would practice. He was always out due to some injury or whatever. And then that was pretty much it.
I'm not going to compare Eddie Goldman to Tommy Harris because see Eddie Goldman only played through his rookie contract.
Right. And
He
then
got that money and he ran. Well, Tommy Harris played to the next contract, kicked ass, got some more money. That's
right,
two totally different dynamics.
right.
So I can't compare the two.
Well, I guess I was just the lack of motivation to play football. That's why I was going not on.
I feel you on that, but Tommy Harris, we talking about from his rookie season up to the time he got paid, he did what he had to do. Well, I'm telling you, as a rookie, I was at the training camp and I felt like Eddie Goldman didn't enjoy playing football. Now, in fairness to Tommy Harris, the injuries could pile up, nicks and pains, family, responsibility. I got my money. I'm putting my. We don't know what these guys go through once they get past that second contract, just to even be healthy enough to hit the field. But I'm talking about training camp
And Bear
in
Bonnet,
your rookie training camp.
yeah.
And I noticed this and I questioned it amongst myself. And then as it played out with Eddie Goldman, he just it was all consistent. It all was consistent with some of the things I seen that day. Everything I seen from that point on was consistent with what I seen that day. With what I seen that day, and that's just all I'm saying.
He
And
is who you thought he was.
yeah, he was exactly who I thought he was, or had the inkling to be at that time. The first time I laid eyes on him at training camp in Bourbonnais, you know. Um, Once again, down another rabbit hole, but uh, so we talked about those free agents. Um, I think we can go we can wrap up soon, but we cannot thinking outside the box since we went so heavy on Bears and we can stay in the NFL. Now check this out. Aaron Rodgers has made a request to the New York Jets, a team that he has not signed with, and he got these requests that he did this guy, and this guy. Odell Beckham being one of them. Some of his former Packer teammates being others. And as this came across the pipe with me, I just felt myself saying, "Why don't this man just retire or something?" Because
He got 60 million reasons. Ain't
I
it?
mean,
He do
he
like
got a
50.
lot of damn nerve to tell a team that he has not signed a deal with that you need to do X, Y, and Z to bring me in.
He don't want to leave Green Bay. I think that's obvious. He don't want to play for the Jets. Now, maybe if it was the Raiders or maybe some other team, maybe he would be interested. This deal would be done already. but he don't want to play with the Jets. That's just asinine for him to. You ain't thrown not let alone a touchdown. You ain't thrown one pass for the Jets. Like, and you making these requests. Like, dude, he wants to stay in Green Bay. If he was gonna retire, I feel like he would have done it already because the new league year that just started. Teams got to move on. They need to know what they got to do. He wants to stay in Green Bay. I don't know what his end game is. I don't know do he want Jordan Love cut from the team. I don't know what this dude wants, but I know he don't want to go play football for the New York Jets.
I'm not convinced that he wants to play in Green Bay either. But I will say this. I think with him making these demands or have a wish list for the Jets, I do think it's a sign of him saying, oh, well, damn, maybe I can either get exactly what I want or or just totally look in another direction. What direction? Miami.
Yeah.
Just to name one team. Well, maybe I need to look at another team, so maybe I need to make the demands on the Jets so crazy to the point where I could just turn them off completely and I could set my sights on another team. And that's how I feel. He may be thinking in that direction. Because I just think from a Green Bay standpoint, I think that as far as the like Matt LaFleur, the coach and people, I just think they're kind of growing sour on Aaron, his lack of leadership, and he got all these demands, and they paid him the money. I think he said is he do another $100 million?
That's what I think. I think is it 50 this year, maybe 50 next year, or it's either 60 this year. It's a lot of meat on that bone.
Yeah, they didn't pay him the money, and he's still acting out. Kind of reminds you of when Brett Favre left Green Bay. Kind of similar situations where he was, going out in a blaze and putting all this pressure on the organization, and they were in a situation where they were ready to like put Aaron Rodgers on the field. And I just think they're in the same predicament now with Aaron Rodgers, putting the pressure on them or trying to bail up out of there. And they are like, look, we need to just go and let Jordan Love do the thing. We ready to let Jordan Love do the thing.
Didn't this dude tell us after he went through his little dark cave period when he came up out of there that he was gonna have a decision for us? And that had to be like 3 weeks ago.
Well, I heard that. Have you ever heard that LeBron James is addicted to fame?
Yeah.
I think the same thing, if that's true about LeBron, the same thing can be said about Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
I think he's kind of like, I can get the same publicity and write up that Tom Brady got. So now give it to me. Follow my every move. Wait for me to speak. I'm Aaron Rodgers and you're not.
Pretty much.
So wait on. That's the impression I get from Aaron. I just think he likes the attention to a degree, and at the same time he want to pull strings. He want to see just how much power he got amongst the league. At this point, like I said, I'd rather see him retire because I don't need to see him play another game. I really don't. Now after all this, I'm just like, come on, man. I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good.
I think we're gonna have another, like I said, another 2 years of it. Not with Green. I don't, because I think they truly done with him. But he gonna be in the league somewhere, reluctantly on the Jets or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Let's finish up this thing, man. I'm having a blast right now. But as we speak, let's jump into this NCAA tournament. Texas A&M Corpus Christi has defeated Southeast Missouri State 75-71. with the tip-off in a few minutes between Pittsburgh and Mississippi State coming up next. Now, when we touch on this NCAA tournament, we're in the first four phase right now as we speak. Number one seeds, Houston, Alabama. I think Alabama's number one overall.
Wow, yeah.
Purdue and
Kansas.
who?
Kansas.
Kansas. Okay,
yeah.
Kansas. So Alabama, I think they're the number one overall, right? I think we may both agree that the first number one team that might get bounced, the first number one seed might be Purdue.
Yeah, I got them losing in the second game to Penny Hardaway and the Memphis Tigers.
I believe a lot of people feel that way. I haven't really looked at the brackets like that, but I did hear that there was a possible matchup. And looking at the fact that Memphis goes head up with Houston twice a year, and maybe even 3 times this season, they're gonna go look at Purdue like, oh man, this ain't shit but a pace and play. Run the big boy off the floor and get their ass out of here.
Yeah, it's gonna be like I've been saying it all year. They're not gonna make it out the first weekend, and the way the draw fell with them getting Memphis in the second round, it's gonna be they would get Memphis because that's an 8. Memphis is an 8 seed. I'm trying to see if Memphis would potentially lose that game. Who would they play? FAU. They probably could beat FAU, and then that would put them having to play Duke the first game if Duke wins out.
Yeah, and that's another team. Yeah. Duke is another team that are playing good basketball, really young team. That's my knock on Duke. But right now, the way they're playing basketball, and look at what they did with Virginia in the ACC championship game, they just paced Virginia out of the game. Like, Virginia like to play that knockout, drag out style.
Yeah.
And I believe that a Duke matchup with Purdue, I think Purdue beat Duke earlier in the season.
I don't recall that ACC Big Ten challenge. Yeah.
I don't know if it was then, but I do think that Purdue beat Duke early in the season in one of the in the tournaments.
Oh,
which one?
Okay.
Yeah, which one I can't remember because Purdue knocked off some traditional powers on their way to becoming the number one team in the country. But I just think at this point in time, when you're looking at Duke is a much different basketball team. The freshmen have grown up and they bought into their roles. They're really doing it on the defensive end. And I just think if Purdue struggles to score, that they can get beat. Look at the way they finished up the Big Ten championship game with Penn State. They backed into a victory with their game.
They struggle handling the press. They haven't gotten any better handling the press since early in the season. And I can guarantee you, whoever they play in the first game will be pressing them. It's either Texas Southern or FDU. They'll be pressing them. They might not have the talent level to beat them. But if they play Memphis, Memphis in that second game, just take it to the bank. Whatever your paycheck is, for that pay period, I would bet the whole thing on Memphis beating Purdue.
Yeah, because I think that the physicality, the guard play, the pace of the game, and I just think their guards are better than Purdue's guards, and that's pretty much what it's going to come down to. And I just think that they could pace Edey out the game, but just getting up and down the floor more times and quicker and stuff like that, just pushing the tempo. And it kind of eliminate a guy like that. And then when you talk about teams like in the Big Ten, it's a totally different style of game. Purdue had big matchup problems with a team like Rutgers.
Yep.
They knocked Rutgers off. They knocked them off in the Big Ten tournament. I just think it's hard to beat a team twice or 3 times in the season And I just think Purdue just figured it out, got the job done. But the game against Penn State was one of those games that's similar to the type of matchups they could see in the backcourt with the overall strength of the guards
Mm-hmm.
and matching up their young guards with more physically imposing guards. They're just gonna push pace, hit you with these hard ball screens. Then we got these twitchy athletic kids jumping at the rim, dunking. I mean, I just think they're not gonna be able to keep up with the pace with a team like Memphis. I,
Put it like
that's
this:
how I
Do
feel.
you think that game? Do you think it's going to be a close game, or Memphis wins by 8 or more?
I believe that will be a game that if Purdue's gonna lose, they're gonna lose big, like 8 or more points.
Okay, yeah, same here. We on the same.
Because if it's a half court game, a half court, you run your stuff, we run our stuff. That's the type of game Purdue could win, given the chance that they rebound well on the offensive end and get second chance opportunities. They dump it down to Edie and he get his, and then you get some inside out play where they can hit some jump shots. That's a game that Purdue could win. But a game that they would have trouble is if they're not hitting shots, they're not rebounding well, and they just getting it off the opposing team is just getting it off the glass and moving. They got to hit shots, man.
It's looking bleak, man. It's looking bleak.
So, we're looking at Kansas, which I don't have a lot on. All I know is Coach Bill Self. He missed the Big 12 tournament due to an undisclosed illness. You got Kansas. We talked about Houston a little bit, and then we got Alabama. Houston, Alabama, and Kansas are the other three seeds. Now, what about UCLA? UCLA, are they a 2 seed?
They are 2 seed. I got UCLA going to the Final Four on my bracket.
Okay.
The only 1 seed I had going to the Final Four was Bama. So I got Bama. I got Memphis going to the Final Four, UCLA, and Texas.
Okay, so I haven't went that far with my bracket because the way I watch these basketball games, the only thing I can predict is who's definitely not going to win, and it's looking like Purdue. And don't get me wrong, I'm a Midwest guy. I normally would root for Purdue. I would love to see them overachieve. Now, don't get me wrong, but I'm just being honest with what my eyes see. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah.
But when I think about these other three teams, when I think about those other three top seeds, it's the way they play the game is why it makes it so unpredictable as to who my favorite team would be. Outside of Brandon Miller being able to get a bucket and make a play pretty much anytime he get ready on both ends of the floor, no other player on those teams presents that type of talent. It's like they dribble a lot. The ball can end up in some weird spaces, and that can be in the basket or out of bounds.
Right.
You just don't know how the flow of the game is going to go, how the fundamentals of the game are going to lay out, and it's kind of hard to predict with them teams. Texas just beat Kansas. I know Bill Self wasn't on the sideline for that game, but Texas is another team that just can be a problem. And a lot of people are like losing interest, like in this tournament, and because they don't know players,
Yeah.
like we did back in the day, but we knew the guys for a year or two, sometimes 3 or 4 years, going back to the 80s or whatever. But if you spend any amount of time watching the top teams in college basketball, you should have been able to come with the assessment of pace, matchups, and when you look at those teams, you can kind of match them up and be like, this team can beat that team. Because one team that I think has the ability to beat Alabama is a team like Arizona.
I can see that. Arizona and UCLA, they played some very high level basketball in the Pac-12 championship game Saturday night. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. That's not something I'd be like, that ain't no. Arizona is deep. Again, played a physical brand of basketball, They got people down low. They had good guard play. It can happen. It can happen.
And
The
they
only,
have
only
depth.
disadvantage they got is Brandon Miller is always going to be the best player on the floor
Yeah.
throughout the
But
rest
see,
of the
this is what changes that dynamic. If you could somehow get him in early foul trouble,
which he got in the other day. Yep.
you could take him off the floor and it changed the whole pace and element of a basketball game. Then it just comes down to how many overall playmakers do you have? Well, they may not be as good as Brandon Miller, but they're available and they're on the floor.
Yeah, yeah. And
You know what I mean?
they're pretty deep. Bama's pretty deep. But yeah, Brandon Miller got in foul. He got 2 charges in the championship game the other day. And especially when he had 3 fouls in the first half. When he got the second foul, I'm like, dude, just stop and take the pull-up jumper. He was trying to Euro step and basketball IQ, but whatever.
A lot of wasted movement in the game of basketball, and that's one of the reasons why I can't call it, because there's so many things that we were taught not to do that guys just do on instinct now. You know, cross-court passes, uh, excessive dribbling, passing up good shots, trying to get a 3. It's like it is hard to determine who's going to win games when so many teams are just not playing the easy game.
Yep. And
You know,
a lot of these teams, they built on shooting the 3 ball. We know what's the old saying? You live by the 3, you die by the 3. And probably to a fault, these teams get in the tournament, they don't shoot as well as they did in the season because you're playing in neutral sites, you're playing in dome. The spacing is way different, so they're not even shooting the ball at the same clip as they was when they playing in their home gym. So it's a lot of teams that die by that sword come March.
Yeah, man. Well, as you can see it, we ready. We up and running, ready for the tournament to get going. And I got to put my cheat sheet out. I can't call it. I'm not gonna make an attempt to call it. Right now, I'm just going to enjoy it, and then maybe by the time the tournament kicks off in full fledged on Thursday, and then we get to Sunday, and then we might have some indication, because you don't know who the Cinderella's going to be. There's always one.
Always, yeah.
There's always one. St. Peter's of last year.
Yeah.
So I just think the NCAA tournament, it always finds a way to edge its way into America's hearts, no matter who the players are. It's just a way of life in America where we get a chance to sit back and enjoy some basketball, and then the cream just rise to the top. Pretty much the top teams do walk away with the prize, but there's so many intangible things when you talk about the mid-majors and the Cinderellas that you didn't watch, or they went under the radar, and then they just, damn, they playing good basketball. And then you got the matchups of the grown men, the mid-majors.
Mm-hmm.
These are the guys that's trying to get their degree and just trying to enjoy their college experience. And then you got the big time schools that got the one and dones. They trying to get that money. They're trying to get that championship. And then you got a clash of men against boys, and it's just that's when we get away from the how we recognize the tournament with the players and the guys sticking around for 2 or 3 years. I think at this present time and day of NCAA tournament, that's what we got to look forward to. The matchups of the mid-majors and the experienced grown men against the one and done McDonald's All-Americans that are projected to be pros, and just let it all play out for 3 weeks. It's March Madness, babe.
Hey,
it's going to live up to the hype. I'm ready. And I guess for the next couple weeks, we're going to be talking about it. Before I let you go tonight, I remember we talked about a buddy of mine. I'm going to shout him out. Jason Kent, a buddy of mine, reached out to me. He want to come on and talk about his book. So I want to extend an invitation to him. We kind of in the midst of all this madness we got going on that's about to get started. Maybe we can get him on. He's a former college basketball coach. I think I talked to you, and I told you earlier that he played for the University of Ohio Bobcats, the Green Boys,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he played on the team with Gary Trent. So I'm gonna reach out to Jason, uh, and I think I'm gonna bring him on to also add to his accomplishments. I want to also bring to light that his daughter. I'm gonna let him give out the names. I can't remember her name right now, but I think she's committed to University of LSU, and his son Jason Kent Jr. He's at the University of Indiana State, and they trying to relive the days of Larry Bird down there. So when Jason, I'm gonna get up with Jason. I don't know when we're gonna bring him on, but I think I'm gonna try and make that happen and bring Jason on, and he can give his take on how he think this tournament gonna lay out, and also get a chance to promote his book that I think now I don't know the name of it right now, but uh, it kind of slips my mind. But it's on it's on some of your major platforms. I know it's on Amazon. But March Madness underway, and it's been a blast tonight. I'm gonna let you carry us away. Um, I'm gonna get into this second game of the first four before I get out of here and go to work. So
Hey, man,
yeah,
this is so. If you're a basketball fan, enjoy the next 3 weeks. That's all I can tell you is enjoy the madness, enjoy the next 3 weeks, because I don't care how much of a pro fan you are. The NBA playoffs is not this, because this is one and done. These is kids just laying it on the line. The playoffs is a series. We know most of the time that the best team gonna end up winning out in the series. Hey, enjoy the next 3 weeks. I know I will. I'm already. I got the game on now. I'll be locked in Thursday through Sunday. So if you text me, I might not respond.
I think I'm gonna be kind of busy myself. Outside the time we had the privilege and honor to get on and talk to each other about what's about to transpire. To give them a recap before we leave tonight, Texas A&M Corpus Christi with the victory. Moving on out of the first four, they beat Southeast Missouri State 75-71. And Pittsburgh and Mississippi State has not tipped off yet. So I'm going to take the opportunity now to say peace so I can enjoy that game and get ready for third. Well, I think we got another set of games going on
Yeah,
Wednesday night in the first four. But then it's on. I mean, from this moment on tonight, all the way up until Sunday, we got action.
that's what I'm saying. So listen, not you. I'm saying our viewers. If you text me, hey, can you come to the studio? Can you do this? Listen, I am indisposed for the next 96 hours. I'm out.
Okay. I'm gonna bring them up to speed one last time tonight. I don't think we got any major NBA matchups in the league. That no, I don't think we got any national games outside of NBA TV. But the Lakers are playing good ball. They on top of the Pelicans. Uh, it's a good matchup in the NBA tonight. You got the Bucks and the Suns matching up tonight. I believe that game is in Phoenix. Uh, I believe that might be. Oh, Chicago Bull fans might be interested in the fact that the Wizards beat the Pistons. So that play-in situation for the Bulls, you know, that's something to look at. And then the top, I think isn't Denver the top team in the league?
They are, but they didn't hit a little. They didn't hit a little rough patch. I think they lost their last 2 or 3.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and as we speak, they're losing to the Raptors, 111 to 111 to 99 with Under 7 minutes left in the fourth. It's been real. We brought them up to the minute. We talked about the Bears. We talked about the NCAA tournament. March Madness is full-fledged and on blast. It's been a blast. Watch the Game podcast. Time flies when you're having fun.